it's time for tip-episodes with quick tips you should know. Techniques you can implement into your workflow right here on A Tale, oh yeah, A Tale of Two Hygienists.
Hi guys, my name is Kim Laudenslager, and I am Director of Communications and Educations for Central Regional Dental Testing, also known as Credits. And I've been asked today to give a short tip-episode on licensure portability. And I'm excited about this. So what I wanted to start with was just kind of an overview. I think everybody knows that all state boards who regulate professionals, it doesn't matter if you're in medical, being a physician, a nurse, a physical therapist, a lawyer, a real estate agent, or a trade like electricians and plumbers and engineers. All state boards, when you have a profession, are charged with protecting the public. So that's why we are asked to get a license. Probably like a driver's license. You have to prove that you at least know the laws of your state and that sort of thing. And so I think people are familiar with the initial process of getting a license, but let me explain the state board's process. When you first apply for a license, it's generally considered initial licensure. And that's basically the state board, because you've never held a license anywhere else. Chances are you are a very new graduate and you don't yet have a track record. You have no history outside of school. The state board is somewhat taking a chance. They want to know that they're licensing somebody who is qualified. So that's why, as an initial licensee, you have to take national boards. And first you have to prove that you've graduated from an accredited school, right? And then you take national boards and clinical boards and probably a jurisprudence exam for that state that you're seeking licensure. So that's the initial process. And I can tell you, I started in Massachusetts, and that was several years ago. And I can remember all of that, my initial licensure from Massachusetts. But right on the heels of that, I wanted to go to Colorado because I was getting into a degree completion program and my master's degree, and basically wanted to move to Colorado. So in those days, it wasn't quite so easy. I had to go through a lot of the process again, but I was also still a new graduate under 1 year. And I'm going to call people who are recent grads are usually under 1 year, okay? Because that's a typical definition for most state boards. So once you've practiced beyond a year in any state, chances are you have a track record. Now, sometimes it's longer, but I'm just going to use the 1 year for right now. So what happens if you're licensed in a state and then a year passes and you want to go to a different state? This is where portability comes in. And I think where a lot of confusion for people I talk to, especially at Credits, is they don't realize once you've been practicing for a certain amount of time, all states allow you to obtain a license by what they usually call credentials or endorsement. And maybe I keep hearing people sometimes when I'm chatting about this topic, they use the word reciprocity. Now, most state boards don't use reciprocity because usually it's not as formal. It all means the same though, so I really don't care what word you use. What's important is after you've practiced a while and you have that track record and you want to go someplace else, what does it take to get a license? And that's where the portability comes in. A plus portability is that you go to the state board's website and you find out exactly what their requirements are. And I can promise you both the American Dental Hygiene Association and the American Dental Association have resources that will help you summarize. Now, I still recommend you go to the state board's website itself, but if you're just looking at a general multiple states, you can go to the American Dental Hygiene Association's website or the ADA website, and under resources, maintain your license, state licensure by credentials. Both websites list some of these requirements. So that might be an easy way for you to get there. ultimately, I wouldn't even, and the ADA and the ADHA even say this in their footnote, that it's very important to check the actual state board website. But I just have in front of me a document that came out of both ADA and ADHA. Let me just glance down. For instance, Arizona, if you've been practicing here, it would require 2 years of previous practice, but they stipulate that you have to have 1,000 hours during the previous 2 years. So if you have that, you basically can just apply for a license without any further examinations. And then, gosh, just going down the list, Louisiana, 1 year of practice. Idaho, licensed for 1 year and have practiced a minimum of 1,000 hours in the last 2 years. So that one's basically saying you just have to have practiced 1 year in the previous 2 years. So see, the wording gets a little complicated. Some are more straightforward. Maine basically says 3 years prior to application, you have to have been practicing. Missouri is 2 years. Montana is 2 years. New Hampshire, Nebraska, 3 years. For most dental hygiene, I will tell you, it's 1 year to 5 years. If you've been practicing, again, it varies by state, but you can get a license in any state except Florida. Right now, Florida is the only state that does not allow licensing by endorsement or credentials. You would have to take exams over again. But for majority of the states, as long as you have been licensed for a certain number of years, you've kept your nose clean, meaning you have no discipline, you've renewed your license on time, it's still active, it's still current, you would be able to obtain a license in any state except Florida. And the reason I think this is important is because, for instance, the credits exam, most clinical exams right now are accepted in almost all states. Credits is accepted in over 40 plus states for initial licensure. But what I'm talking about right now is endorsement and credentialing. I think so many students who are recently graduating kind of panic and think, whoa, where am I going to be 8 years from now? It doesn't matter because you'll be able to basically transfer your license if you have the credentials and the proof that you've been practicing and practicing without discipline, etc. Let me give you some numbers here. This was interesting. I gave a recent presentation about portability. And in 2022, according to some of the census statistics, they say 22% of Americans moved, interesting, but 18% of that 22 moved either to a new apartment, across town, or in state. So really, in 2022, there was only 4% of our entire population that moved out of state. Then so that's a pretty small percentage. And then you have to ask yourself, what percentage of that 4% was a dental professional or a licensed professional, be it a lawyer or a nurse that even had to deal with licensing issues? And then, of course, if you've practiced for more than a few years, 1 to 5, 7 years for dental sometimes, you're still going to be fine. So I think my summary of portability in dental licensure, of course, when you're a brand new graduate, you want to apply for licensure in the state or states that you think you're going to be living in the next couple of years. But after that, you will probably be able to obtain a license in any state, just given your track record. And that's what we call endorsement or credentialing. All right? So I hope that helps you. I did want to mention, just because it's been a hot topic, is the whole topic of compacts. And this episode was meant for more of you right now who are looking at licensure, but I do want to put a plug in and some excitement for the interstate compact that's happening for dental and dental hygiene. And just so you know, this is moving forward, which would allow more portability if state boards can agree to work together. And it would be the Council of State Government and they're partnering with the Department of Defense, the American Dental Association, and the Dental Hygiene Association to help educate state boards and look at this whole portability issue. So that's something that's obviously on the horizon. But even right now, today, I think it's important to know that our licenses are generally portable after you've been practicing a couple years and have a track record. So with that, I wish you all the best and have a great day. Thank you.
A tale of two hygienists.